Hello, welcome. It is Thursday, August 27th, and we are a little over 1 week away from Labor Day weekend. Pumpkin spice has returned to Starbucks. Who has already gotten one? Who out there is already hitting the pumpkin spice? It is still the summer of live for a couple more weeks here, and I am your host. I'm the Director of Marketing for Mediavine. I'm Jenny Guy. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. How are you all? Everyone is saying hi. Oh, yes, Amber asked a really great question, which is why not both? Why can't you be by the pool with your pumpkin spice latte? There's no reason you couldn't. I think that's great. So here's the question of the day, everyone. I've asked a couple of questions already, but the big question of the day is, did you wake up today feeling like an expert? I'll wait. If you're a blogger and you built your own business, you should have, because I guarantee you that there are things you do better than anyone else, but you don't even think about it potentially because it's second nature to you. It seems like it's so easy to you and it's not a big deal. But there are other people out there, other bloggers who need your knowledge. And because of that, you can turn that area of expertise for you into a new revenue stream with courses. And that is what we are here to talk about today. My guest today makes over $10,000 a month on her courses, and she is here to show you how everything from finding your topic to marketing and sales. Hilary has you covered, and I'm going to introduce her right now. Hilary Erickson is the curly head behind the blog and podcast Pulling Curls. She is a part-time nurse, mom to 3, wife to 1, who resides often melting in the Phoenix area. I got to hear her talk to Siri about her fan and her air conditioning. Pulling Curls is a parenting media outlet that focuses on simplifying and untangling pregnancy, parenting, home, and family travel for the thousands of moms who visit or listen every day. Welcome, Hilary.
Hey.
Hey. How are you today?
I'm hot. It's Arizona, and I'm excited to talk about courses.
I'm so excited to have you. I'm so glad that you're here, and we're so excited to talk about this topic because I think it's one that can be intimidating to people. So I'd love to hear first from everyone out in the audience that are still talking about pumpkin spice lattes, which who can blame them? I love pumpkin spice. Guys, who out in our audience has taken a course in a blog-related subject? Tell us that. If you've paid for a course, who's taken one, whether it's SEO or photography, videography, YouTube, tell us what's up. And Hilary, you start out by telling us, while people are posting about that, how did you get into course creation? And talk about that transition from being a blog owner, podcaster, into courses as a revenue stream, because it's really been a game changer for your business.
Yes. So I started out with a book. I had a prenatal class book, and I really wanted to affiliate with pregnancy related products, and there really just wasn't a lot of educational materials out there. And so I wrote the book, and then the further I got into the book, I was like, this could probably be a course. And so then I launched it into a course, and then it just evolved into that. And then I have 2 other courses that I made, because once you make one, you're like, why not make some more? So I have a parenting one and an organization one as well. Yep.
So what made you said that when you wrote that book, it made you think that it should be a course. What about it made you think that it should be a course?
I mean, mostly I thought people would want more interaction with the experts. And I thought that I could probably make more money with it as a course, because I didn't feel good at selling a book for like $100, but I think I could sell a course for $100 plus. So yeah.
So more of interaction is a really good thing. We've got some people that are saying they've taken courses in a blogging related subject. Tell us what subjects you've taken courses in, what you've paid for them. Give us details on those courses that you've taken. Hilary, how do you choose a course topic? How do you begin? Because for you, you said you'd written a book and that was your expertise, because you're also a nurse, a pregnancy nurse. Right. So that was a kind of a natural one-to-one thing. But you also have a course now on organization, which is something that is more applicable to a blogging sense. So how do you choose a course topic?
So for me, I taught prenatal classes for my hospital. So that made it real easy that if you already are teaching something, or, invited to teach about things to like your local women's group or something, then that might be a good option for you, because you've already taught it once and you have kind of that in-person experience, plus you know what kind of questions people are going to ask.
Right.
But for me, after I did the prenatal class, I ran a survey to my audience. I pushed it on my email, social media, all those kind of things. and just encourage them to tell me what they thought I was an expert at.
How did you run that survey? How did you do that?
So I made just a Google form, totally free. And I have, you guys, they'll put a link in here, but I have the link to the survey that I ran last. I try and run one every fall, but I don't think I ran one this last fall because I was tired. But surveys are so awesome to have your community tell you what they like about you and maybe what they don't like about you. I also asked them how much they would pay, because of course you want to make it worth your time. If they're only going to pay $10, then I might as well leave it as a book, because why take the time? So running a course, I think, helps a lot, because your perceived expertness is usually more than your personal. Because I don't, when I go to organize stuff now, I still feel like I would kind of like to light the things on fire more than organize them. But my audience feels like I know what I'm doing. So, yeah.
I think that that's really helpful. And part of what we're going to talk about, we're going to specifically talk about this a little bit later, but it's hard to feel like you're expert enough in something that you would charge someone else to learn from you. So it's helpful to have that survey. So you set up a Google form and you asked all types of questions. You asked, what would your audience like to hear more about from you? What do they feel you're an expert in? What would they pay for it? Did you ask them formatting questions? Did you ask them all the questions about what they would like?
I did say how important is like video, how important is written material, stuff like that. I did run a really short survey like this past fall, just asking that question, like, what's a game changer for you, written material and video? And it's interesting that some people just love the written material and some people love the video. So you want to please both of them. So,
we found that too. We found that definitely that some people do not want blog posts. Some people want that in a podcast form. Some people want it in video form. People like to consume content in multiple different ways. So I'm going to share this. This is, and I'm going to make this solo. Hilary, will you explain what this is? Can you see it?
Yes. So that is a graph, my friends.
It is.
It just shows so I started my courses in 2015. I probably started blogging in 2014, I think. And then it just shows how much the course grows versus your Mediavine earnings. So most of you guys are probably on Mediavine. You know how much your earnings are there, and you can just kind of compare how much more you can make with your own product in addition to your Mediavine ads.
So yeah, as we always talk about around these parts, that it's so important to diversify your revenue streams. And this is something that can exist while you can see that your ad revenue is rising as you go through the years in your time with Mediavine. But it's still something that can supplement and that you can potentially maximize and have going on. If your traffic takes a hit, maybe your courses don't take a hit. So tell us a little bit about what to expect if you're going to have that survey and you're creating a Google form. How many of your followers respond to you? How often? You said you're doing it about once a year?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping for like 100. There are not a lot of people. I do not incentivize it because I think that brings out a different person maybe than who I need. But I do run it for a whole month. And I do find that I get older respondents at the beginning of the month. And then the busy moms tend to respond like the fourth time that I pushed it to my newsletter. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it really skewed the longer our month went on. So, yeah.
So you're spending time, you're sending it out to your newsletter, you're pushing it multiple times. Do you have any idea of what percentage of people actually did respond to you? And regardless, it worked. I mean, you were able to
1%.
Maybe 1%. So don't get discouraged if it's not a lot of people responding to your survey. You're still getting value in the responses and you're still getting the information that you need from that 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So the reason why I asked people to say what they were paying for courses for, we've got writing, we've got Pinterest, we've got Mastermind, we've got all sorts of different things that people are willing to pay to have people teach them to learn more about, because, and you have organizing, you have motherhood, you have so there's so many things that people are willing to learn more about at their own pace from the comfort of their own home. And I would think that, I meant to ask you this, have you seen a difference in your course enrollment with COVID and everything happening here? Has that impacted it?
If you look at the chart, I had a huge month in April, I think it was. Yeah. Well, because also hospital classes closed. So most people think they'll just go to a hospital class, but that wasn't available anymore. And so, yeah.
I think there's a whole lot that people are willing to learn at home through a pace yourself course that they weren't able to do before now that there's COVID. So and that's not ending now, guys. So that's something to keep capitalizing on as much as you can while you can. Okay. So once you settle on a topic, I think one of the biggest things then is how to go about it. How do you structure it? Where do you start from there? You've decided I'm an expert in social media. I'm an expert in Facebook. So that's my special skill, my whispering skill. I'm a Facebook whisperer. Where do I go from there?
So for me, I always outline it first, just to kind of give me a broad idea of what I want to cover in the course. And then sometimes somewhere within the outline, I'm starting to think about a freebie, because I think it's really important to get your audience excited with something that's small, to tell them that it's coming up, so that when you launch, you've got an audience that's already kind of primed and thinks you're an extra expert at that point. And then after I outline it, I personally start with a medium that I'm most comfortable with. So I started out as a writer. I am not comfortable with video. I'm getting there, but I don't love it still. So I write my course first. Now, if you love video, then I would recommend doing video first and then writing it out after. But that's what I always recommend, is to kind of just start where your comfort level is and then add on. Because I do feel like people really expect video in courses anymore. I know that a lot of people feel like they could just kind of create a book and throw it into a course format. But I think people want video, and it makes your course more valuable. So
I definitely agree with that for sure. So Ellen Folkman asks a really interesting question. She says, had you ever taken a course before you designed a course? She said she's never done an online course.
I mean, I've taken classes as a nurse, done online courses as a nurse, and then I've taken courses as a blogger. Lots of bad blogging courses out there. There were lots of things to learn from other people that I took into my own course, because I honestly feel like the people that are buying a prenatal class are expecting a little bit more than what the blogger people are putting out there. So a lot of times when I see other people's courses that aren't B2B, we've put maybe more effort into video and audio that I haven't seen as much in blogging courses.
Okay. So, no, that's fine. I think that, yeah, let's be real. What have you guys not liked about courses? I want to hear from Hilary what she saw that she definitely didn't want to do when she was creating a course, and I want to hear from our audience too. What have you not liked? What would you avoid doing if you were to create a course? Hilary, tell us.
I mean, there were a lot of bloggers who threw up a book and put it as a course, and I felt like then they would charge $100 for this book, and I just felt like that wasn't very fair. No video, or if they did do video, it was grainy, or they did like a loom where they were poorly lit in the very small side, and then tons of horrible audio, which drives me crazy, because a lot of times that's all you have is the audio, as you're working kind of in the sidelines. So using an external mic is super important, and like not doing it in your full tile living room.
Okay, so technical aspects are huge. Audio, video, lighting, those are things that we all talk about, and things that really can not only elevate if you're doing a course, but if you're doing a live, if you're a guest on a podcast, if you're doing any of those things, taking it to the next level with your lighting, with your sound, controlling your environment as much as you can. I've recorded some things in my closet before, because that's the best place for sound. So I sit on the floor of my closet and close the door and bring my podcasting mic in there and do that. Amber says, when I've taken video courses, the audio quality is so important. There's several that I paid for, and once I get access, I'm like, I cannot listen to this. Audibility is very important. And I think editing is as well, all very important things to that. Okay, so you said you had a freebie. Describe that freebie to us, what you used to entice people, to prime people for this course.
So all of my courses have kind of a small course that jumps them into it.
Okay.
The prenatal class has a birthing plan, where it's like a printable birthing plan, but I also go through it and I have a little video where I talk to people about it. So it's not like a course in general. It's just kind of the printable with some extra stuff like that. Like the video is what I'm saying. And then a short email series. For the organization one, I have a 5-word organization challenge that people can come in and just kind of learn some tips about organization. And then I have like a practical parenting series where I go through some of my best like parenting articles and just share that with them. And I also have a video that kind of goes with it, just because I think video helps you connect with people more as well.
And you're starting to push that out. That's basically a teaser. And
yeah,
then
so I would start to push it out early.
Okay.
Like, in your course creating process. Yeah.
So speaking of a course creating process, what's the time like on this? How long does it usually take you realistically to put together a course?
I mean, it just depends. Like my last course, I created over a full year. So I started out with like 5 modules and I advertised it saying, I'm going to create a new module every month for the rest of the year. And so by the end, you'll have 17 and you're going to pay this lower price at the beginning. So that's an option. You don't have to have it all done at the beginning. And it also kind of gives you the chance to survey people as to what they want so that it can be more valuable for that particular set. Like, I don't know, I would say at least 4 months, 3 months. It depends on how much time you have to devote. So, I mean, a lot of people say they can pound out a course in a month, which is off to them.
Yeah.
But I also work as a nurse. It's not like I'm just working blogging.
So what's a module? Tell us.
So I split my courses up into sections. So like in labor and delivery, I have one about before the baby's born, while the baby's being born, and then after the baby's born. And then I have, they're basically chapters because I write it as a book initially within each section. So it also kind of depends on how your course platform is going to show the courses. So in Teachable, there are sections. And so that's how I've done it. But some course platforms maybe just have lessons. And so I would, keep that in mind as you're creating it.
We're going to talk more about platforms in a second. Ellen said she was going to ask what's a module. Ellen, I got you. So basically sections, logicals, they're like chapters of a book.
Chapters of a book. They literally are also the chapters of the book. Because I also sell my courses as a book. Because once you've written the book, you might as well sell it as a book. So some people prefer that lower price point, and some people, more people buy the course. But I like to give it as an option.
And so when you turn something into a course, you talk a lot about adding freebies, adding extras, adding more value add. Video has been one that you've really repeated throughout, but what else can you add to a course that makes it a course?
Yeah, so I have added printables. I have printables that are like a bonus. I have quizzes at the end of each chapter. I also have like key points, so kind of like the Cliff Note version that you can review kind of at the end of the chapter. I also have key point videos. So then you can just watch like a 2 to 3 minute video that just have the key points instead of watching the full video. And then I think that's it. Oh, I also have like outside information that I've vetted, especially in labor and delivery. Like if they want to know something specific about preeclampsia, then I can give them a link to it because I don't want to do a deep dive in something that I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
So external resources, quizzes, basically they're all different ways of consuming the information, as opposed to with the book, you get the chapter and that's it. It's written. With a course, you're giving them a long video, an overview video. You're giving them a synopsis video, a quick one. You're giving them a Cliff's Notes. You're giving them a quiz. There's just different ways to digest that information that make it convenient to all different learning types and all different time that people have. You're making it as easy as possible for them to do it. Okay, so since back to school seems to be on everyone's minds right now, give us a supply list for courses, hardware and software. Where should you spend money even before you've made it? And then you mentioned Teachable. I'd love to hear any specific platform recommendations that you have.
Okay, so I got a DSLR to film my course. I upgraded. I just have a Canon DSLR because I started with Canon. But I would recommend just getting a good camera. Cameras are so great anymore. You just need one that does video and allows an external mic, because it's really important that you have an external mic. As far as the mic, we've tried a few. Honestly, most of the lav mics have been fairly similar. We just paid a bunch for a wireless Rode mic that gives us the option of standing up while I'm doing it and not being tethered to the camera, because one time I pulled out the cord and then I had to redo that whole video. So that's not a good feeling. But there are, you just want a mic that kind of hooks to your clothing, that kind of a mic, instead of like, I can't imagine buying like a boom mic And my podcast mic is so big that I don't think it would end up being very personable when I ended up filming the course. So I have earbuds on today. You could try earbuds, but I think having something closer and maybe more directional so that it doesn't pick up like your air conditioning might be helpful when you create the course.
You said definitely a lav mic. Okay. Talk about a camera, and then let's definitely go into platforms.
Yeah, honestly, just any kind of camera that has good quality. The cameras are so much better than they used to be. I don't know that you need a full-on DSLR, just a good quality camera that you feel like picks up really well. I probably wouldn't use your laptop camera. I would probably aim for something a little bit better. And they have to have a port for an external mic because they don't all do that. Although you could record it like separately on a mic recorder thing, but that is a bit of a pain, and you'd have to have software that could like mesh the two of them, which seems hard. Yeah. And then as far as platforms, so I started with my course on my own site, and I used a platform called Lifter LMS, but I did not even put it on a subdomain. It was just on my site, and it would end up breaking things, and Mediavine would sort of break it, and it just ended up being kind of a big fat mess that I didn't want to handle. So I moved to Teachable. Now, when I moved, there were pretty much Thinkific and Teachable. There were other platforms out there, but I spent some time researching, and I went with Teachable just because it's prettier. And I felt like for my prenatal class, which is my bestseller, that was really important for my people. But there's so many cool platforms out there anymore. Kajabi was just barely starting when I started moving over. And so I know a lot of people are on there. And yeah, there's like Membership Ally, and where you could host it on your own site, Member Vault. There's lots of cool things. So I would think, what do you want on a course? I know I have a friend of mine who's doing courses for kids. And so it was really important to her that they got like badges as they completed courses so that it was more like a video game for them. So those are things to think about as well.
In terms of, what do you know what platform she uses it for the badges with kids? Okay. We got a feedback from Ashley Prisby who says using a separate audio recorder will give you better quality audio than using the camera audio.
So I would disagree. We tried both ways, but just doing it into the camera actually sounded and worked better for us. But that's just me.
Yeah, everyone experiment with your own and see what you can find there. Okay, then another thing that you wanted to discuss was the legal stuff with courses.
Yes. So first off, it's really important that you get terms and conditions as you purchase your course. It was especially important for me because I run a medical thing that I want to tell people that my advice never supersedes the advice of your doctor, yada, yada, yada. Please don't sue me. And so I had those written up with a lawyer initially, and then I took them to Jamie at #Legal, and she turned them into 11 pages of beautiful, lawyer talk. So yes. I think it's really important. Most platforms allow people to check the box that they read the terms and conditions so that you are protected when people purchase the course. So that's nice. I also have them embedded as the first section of my course, just a reminder that you accepted all these things. And, I also boil it down to say, I am a general nurse. I'm not your nurse. I just want to let people know, don't always take my advice over something your doctor gave you. And then my course has been around since 2015. And so I filed copyright with #Legal also this past spring. And that was painful because I'd had so many iterations. So if you are doing a course, copyright it in the very beginning so that it's done. And then once you make the next version, you can just copyright that one. You have to kind of copyright each version you have as you go along if you're publishing them along the way.
Why is it important to copyright your courses?
Well, because I don't want somebody stealing them. Also, Jamie told me that I can't, you can tell someone to take it down, but if you don't own the copyright, you can't get legal fees back from them. So it would be difficult for me to sue them and recoup enough to pay for Jamie as well as for taking my course down. It just wouldn't make any sense. So that's why you need to have the copyright.
File the copyright. Fantastic. Okay. So let's talk about the thing that you've been doing some experimenting with a lot recently. You've got an awesome course. It's filling you with pride. It's time to sell it. The first thing I want to start with is pricing. How do you determine pricing for your course? And one of the tips you've already given, which is sending out that survey and asking what people will pay, but how else?
I will say that that survey comes back with not a whole lot of help. I found some people were willing to pay like $500 for the course, and some people were like, it has to be free. I was like, oh, that's so helpful. Mm-hmm. So for me, I knew what our hospital charged for the course that I taught for them. So that was a good starting point. I also looked to see what other hospitals were charging. I then looked online to see what other people were charging. And then I just thought about, what was the reason I'm doing the course and what was kind of my comfort level of the course. I actually recently redid the course and I was thinking about raising it. And ultimately, I just decided that enough people were buying the course that I was paying for my time and the things that I was doing. And I wanted to make it as affordable as possible. And so I just left it the same price point that I had it at before.
That is extremely helpful, but hard in that you said part of it is that you want people to be able to take it. But I think that people very much are reading what you titled the session when you pitched it, which is making, $10K by the pool while you're relaxing with the pumpkin spice latte or whatever you're drinking by the pool. So,
you can't make the pumpkin spice latte if it doesn't sell. So a lot of times you can sell way more at $100 than you could ever sell at $300. So, you can A/B test it, you can price test it. For me, I also have 3 tiers. So I have the first tier that's a book that comes at $35, and then I have the course that comes at $100, or you can get it with a Facebook group and all the sparkles and everything that comes for $150. And so, that made me kind of feel like I still made it affordable, but then, I felt like people were paying me for my time and things like that.
So putting in options sounds like it's a key thing for you, which is giving people the bare bones to all the sparkles.
Yep.
Fantastic. Love having all of that. Jackie Williams said, what mic do I use? It always sounds so great. Thanks, Jackie. I use the computer mic for this most of the time. Part of what controls the sound the best for me is having my podcasting headphones on. That kills a lot of what the external sound, any echo, anything like that helps with that. Ellen Folkman says, what's included in each tier for you?
So the first tier is a book and a workbook that people can fill out. The second tier is just the online course. They don't get anything else but that. The third tier is the book, the workbook, the course, and then also access to a Facebook group. And in general, those are the things that are included in each tier. So
tell us about the Facebook group. How much time do you put into that a week? How many people are in there? Have you seen it as a big value add that really sells people on that top tier?
I have, especially since COVID. People wanted an in-person class where they could meet other moms that they could bounce ideas and information off of. How much time do I spend there? Not a whole lot. Also, it is what I'm an expert at. So I never, when people ask questions, I usually just know the answer. So I can just type it in. So I'm not having to spend like a lot of time researching what people are asking me. It also depends on just kind of like how boisterous that month's class is, because I run it. So I have a thing that's scheduled to run one lesson every other day throughout the month. And so that just comes on and does it for me every month in the group. And then I just come in and answer any questions along the way. Yeah.
And do you offer the same thing for your organization group? And do you find that's more for, so the question is, I guess that I'm thinking here, hearing you talk and hearing some of what our audience is talking about, is that you can talk about what your site is about. So if we're a food blogger, a travel blogger, parenting, whatever that is, or you can do a course about blogging. Those are 2 separate avenues to take. If you are doing a course about blogging, that's a much different audience than people that are doing a course for their followers. Does your organizational course apply more to your followers, or are you branching that out into courses about courses for bloggers?
No, it is. So my blog is just, I write about all the things. It's been around since 2005. So okay. I have been blogging a long time. Yes. So I have information about all the things. And so ultimately I made courses that kind of met my 3 pillars of my site, which is parenting, organization, and pregnancy. And so that's why I have the 3 different ones. The organization one, I do have a group, but it's not private. And so I don't actually have 3 tiers for that one. I have a book, and that you can buy a subscription and get it monthly, or you can get it like all at once. So that one's kind of a different thing. I didn't want to do that for pregnancy because I want people to just have the information and not like subscribe to it the same way you would for some courses.
You just talked about updating courses. So how long is your oldest course? How long has it been around? And then how long, you said 2015 is when you did your first course. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. How many times have you
So,
updated that?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, although I did have to do that when I did the copyright. I think ultimately 4 times. So one time I just wrote the book, then I added some videos, and then this last time I updated absolutely everything, did full length videos, and yeah. So how long does it take? Is that what you mean? I think
I
I
would
have
say
3 hours of video.
I
Yeah.
was saying, how often would you recommend going back, revisiting a course, looking at that
Oh, that's
content,
it.
and then when you're re-recording?
I mean, it really just depends because my friend runs a Pinterest course and Pinterest updates all the time, but having a baby does not update all the time.
It's
Like
true.
I did throw in a chapter about COVID, just like kind of what people should expect and what has changed, because I didn't want to record videos that really talked about COVID because I personally hope that it doesn't last very long. But uh, yeah, so I can throw in a chapter if, that's the beauty of courses is you could quickly throw in just some information about something short and small, that's a little more up to date, and then you could take that out kind of when that's done. So yeah.
Okay.
And
And
I
then,
think it just depends. Like my organization one, so my plan is to update one, do the pregnancy one, and then update the organization one, and then I'll probably do the pregnancy one the next year, just because I sell more of that, and I do want to keep that the most up to date. And then I'll update the parenting one. So pregnancy will probably get updated every 2 years, and the other ones will get updated every 4.
awesome. And then Ellen says, how many modules do you have in each course for folks to complete? What's a good number?
I have no idea. So
Okay.
my pregnancy one has 12 chapters, lessons, whatever. My parenting one, I think, has like 20. My organization one probably has similar, but they're smaller chunks, and the videos are only like 2 to 3 minutes. And a lot of it's just an assignment at the end, like, okay, now's your time to pick your ugliest cupboard in your cabinet in your kitchen, and let's tackle it, versus like now I've just thrown you a whole bunch of information about having a baby. It's just different. Yeah. I probably wouldn't recommend people to do courses on so varied items, but that's how I roll.
All right. Excellent. So focus a little bit more in that way. Okay. Let's go a little bit into marketing. You highly recommend email series. So let's talk about that, how you use your list to sell that course.
Yeah. So, well, first off, the most important thing is probably your sales page, because that's where you're going to be sending people. I updated my sales page with Story Branding, which is a book by Donald Miller, where he really just talks about honing in on what that class is for and what it's going to do for people. And so that really helped. I think if you have a poor looking sales page, your blogging, your newsletter might buy from you, but cold traffic is just going to be put off by it. So I think the sales page doesn't get enough attention sometimes, and I think it's really important. So sales page, most important. And then I just have tons and tons of email series. So I have the Freebie series, and then like with pregnancy, I actually have I have 4 different pregnancy series, depending on how far along they are in their pregnancy. And, I'm just nurturing. By the way, I have this course. Would you like to buy it? Nurture, nurture, nurture. And, it's really important for me to give out great, high quality pregnancy information at the same time. So it does, fit both of the things that I want to do in my life. But yeah.
Okay, so with the email, you talked about a freebie and Tripwire. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So a tripwire happens after they get the freebie. So let's say they sign up for my free printable birth plans. The next page, once they hit submit, it's just their email address. They haven't paid for anything. The next picture or the next screen is, hey, thanks so much for signing up for that. I have a one-time offer that gives my courses at a discount right then. And it's only available then, and you have to use timers, and it's kind of annoying and confusing, but it's only available for 20 minutes. And, that gives you the opportunity to catch people where they've already made a choice to trust you a little bit. Maybe they'll trust you a little bit more and purchase the course.
Excellent. Okay. Who do you use for your email series? Ellen wants to know.
I used to be on ConvertKit, and I left them this year for BirdSend. So I have liked BirdSend. I've heard a lot of people who didn't like them. They transferred I had over 100 series, if that's a word, and they moved all of it for me. And I had, I think, 100 opt-in forms, and they moved all of those for me as well. So I use BirdSend. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. That's excellent. Okay. Brenda says, I have taken a few online courses and the number of modules all vary because it depends on how long they are. But I think if you can say it takes X amount of time to complete the whole thing, that helps. Like if I sat and watched one of them start to finish, it would take 8 hours. She said it's a really good selling point to tell people what a time investment would be. I think that's great. Do you have an opinion on that, Hilary?
I think that's really important, especially so with pregnancy. I'm updating pregnancy, so it's the one that's on my mind the most. I do say you can do this in 2 to 3 hours because a lot of people are going to find that when they're like 36 weeks and they want to make sure that they'll have time to fit it in. And so I do say you can do it in 2 to 3 hours, or you can take as long as you want because I have all these outside resources and you could watch the videos. 2 to 3 hours might even be on like 1.5 speed. So, I think it's also important to tell people that you can take your time with it. And also people want to know what the end result is. The end result is a confident birth where they feel comfortable in the hospital versus you will get to watch 3 hours of video. Nobody wants to watch 3 hours of video, but they want the confident birth. That's why they're going to watch the 3 hours of video.
That's really helpful to show what their end result will be, plus the amount of time they're going to need to invest to get that end result. Very helpful. Great sales pitches. Talk to us a little bit about BirdSend and what makes that different. What brought you from ConvertKit to BirdSend, and why is it different to you?
So I was just having BirdSend ConvertKit, all of my forms started to break and they weren't sending the freebie, and ConvertKit was just like, so sorry, why don't you just remake your forms? And I was like, there's 100 forms. And they were like, yeah, that's gonna suck basically. So I moved. Yeah. So I do think that there's getting to be, ConvertKit was the thing. Like I signed up for it back in 2015 and it was the one option that really could give you all the tags and all that kind of stuff that wasn't like Aweber or something really overwhelming. But there's getting to be so many different things out there. I would definitely, if you're looking to start a list or you're early in your list phase, I would definitely tell you to like check out all the different options out there because they're getting more competitive in pricing and features. Like BirdSend will tell me who converted during what email, and ConvertKit, I had to upgrade to the pro thing in order to be able to see that. So
metrics, information, all that stuff is helpful. And then also pricing points, what the features are, all of that, examine and really do some, like you said, it's nice now that there's more competition happening to where people actually have to work for development and to work to get your dollars. Very helpful. Okay, Alan Folkman says, when you update, do those who have already purchased get the updates in a notification, or do they have to buy the new chapter, download the new chapter? How do you work on all that?
I just send an email out through Teachable, and so that would be their chance to get it. I provide lifetime access for my prenatal classes, and that means that if they ever get updated, they can have access for them. None of it's, if they buy the book, it's downloadable. And I did email the people that had bought the book previously and say it was in there. But the course itself, nothing's downloadable, so they could just go in and watch the new things if they wanted.
Okay. Excellent. So talk about a thank you series and using the power of positive words.
Yes. So I think it's really important to have something once people purchase that says, thanks so much for purchasing, and also get in there and do it, because a lot of times people buy it and then they forget. And it was really important to me that people actually did the prenatal class. And so I send an email series after, and starting in about the third email, I start to say, hey, if you've done a chapter or a section, I would love a testimonial. And I have a platform called Endorsal. I bought it on AppSumo. There's a lot of different ones. You could even just use a Google form that collects reviews, kind of like Amazon. So people type in their own review, they give it the number of stars, and Endorsal collects all those, and I can show them on a page on my blog. And I'm starting to get like a lot of them, which is it's really nice to be able to go in there as I'm recreating my sales page and just copy and paste what people have said. And it's in their own words. And I know a lot of people love to like kind of adjust the testimonials, but personally, I love to read a testimonial that somebody wrote. And I really love that I can keep scrolling on a page and just see people after people after people say, she was so engaging, we love this course, we felt so much more prepared, yada, yada. So, and they're also good to put on social media. So I'll copy them and make like a little Instagram of it and just put it on my social media, because I think it just reminds people to buy the course and reminds them that it's great.
That's super helpful. And we love that. Testimonials are huge, and word of mouth is huge too. I think that's kind of the whole bag with influencers to begin with, is that personal touch and that word of mouth referral, as opposed to a billboard kind of feeling that you get with more traditional forms of advertising. So We've got Endorsal posted. I wanted to revisit an earlier thing you were talking about, which is selling stories. Can you talk about that a little bit more and how you revamped your sales page? I wanted to post the link maybe to that book that you were talking about as well. I want to know more about it.
So it's called Story Branding. The guy's name is Donald Miller. He Business Made Simple, I think is his name. They just started a new like business courses, and I bought those. And I honestly think that the book gives you all that you need to do if you're really going to think it through. And it's really, for me, it boiled down to just simplifying that sales page so that a caveman could know exactly what the sales page will give them as soon as they get there. So it's not just a bunch of like, I have 116 pages and there's 4 million words on those 116 pages, really selling them on what they are going to get at the end.
Yeah, totally. And story branding, not selling stories, story branding. And I'm interested in reading it. And we're going to post some information about that in a second. Now, we've talked through testimonials. We talked through a thank you series. We talked through actually finding out if people are using the course, getting that feedback. We shared Endorsal. Let's talk about Facebook marketing. We dipped our toe.
Before Facebook.
Okay.
Get affiliates. So ask in your blogging groups, talk to your friends. You probably have friends that blog in the same thing as you do. Affiliates have been huge because when you Google pulling curls prenatal class, those people come up, and that makes a huge difference. And I realized that I want to pay you for your effort, and I'm paying affiliates, $1,000 a month for helping promote my class. And so I love doing that. And I think they love having something of high quality to share in their posts. So you do have to kind of put your name out there. Whenever I'm at conferences, I try and remind people that I do sell it and give them my card, and hopefully they'll want to come be an affiliate. But don't forget affiliates. I think a lot of people are like, oh, an affiliate doesn't really do much, but they really do. Yeah.
How did you get that? How did you start that whole system off? Please talk about that, because that's something I think we all think about being affiliates and doing, whether it's Amazon affiliate or anything like that, working with all those different things. But I want to hear how you got that process started. And you said you recruit some at conferences. How are you recruiting now? Because we don't have conferences anymore.
I just posted in blogging groups and an affiliate program was available. I've actually moved to ThriveCart because Teachable's affiliate program didn't show people like how many clicks they were getting. And it was really important to me that affiliates had as much information as they could have as possible. So I've really made affiliates a part of my business instead of just like a side note, because I do a ton of affiliate marketing too. I've spoken at Mediavine conferences about affiliate marketing. So I know what it's like to be cast aside by the company at the end. And, before I moved to ThriveCart, I checked with my affiliates. Before I do anything, I really like to just check with people. Anyway, so I did it mostly in blogging groups, just said that it was available. And then also word of mouth, when people started to make good money, I would be like, hey, feel free to tell a friend who's in a similar genre that you're making good money. And so it's just gone from there. Now, all affiliates aren't amazing, but the ones that have been great.
So you're using, what was the platform that you're using to manage your affiliates?
So my courses are on Teachable. But I use a program called ThriveCart that is my shopping cart system. So people don't purchase on Teachable anymore. They use ThriveCart to purchase the courses.
Okay. And how did you decide on a commission structure for your affiliates?
I just kind of thought what sounded good. And initially I actually offered it higher. I said, if you come be an affiliate. Oh, and I had a blogging newsletter back in the day. I still sort of have one now, but not really. So I'd emailed those people and I said, hey, if you're gonna come on in the next 30 days, I will give you a certain percentage, which is higher than people got later on. So that was a way to recruit people and to get them on the board quickly. But I currently give 25%. I know a lot of us are used to blogging classes that give 50%, but because I'm in the group offering it, I'm paying all the fees that are associated with it. I just felt like that was a fair amount. And because my course is average at about $100 a sale, that's a good amount for people to be getting for something that they feel good about promoting. So.
Do you provide marketing collateral for them? Do you have a special way that you communicate with your affiliates?
So I run them through an email series once I onboard them. So there's an onboarding series that shows them how to get links and all those kind of things. As far as marketing materials, now that people are starting to get sued because they used a picture that somebody else had, when people, I'm not sure what other people should be using. So I should probably talk with Jamie from #legal more about that. But right now, I don't really have images for them to use. And for me, when I do affiliate marketing, it always kind of works better when I make my own image versus theirs. They can, of course, use my logo and all those kind of different things. But as far as like giving them an image to share, because I don't own the images, I haven't been pregnant in a long time. I don't really have anything specific for them to share. But I could, like, if I did my organized home, when I redo that one, I'll probably take a picture of me organizing something, which will be a beautiful photo.
Yeah, absolutely. Lois Britton said, I just listened to Story Branding as an Audible book during a weekend car trip. She cannot wait to try it. She's very excited. Exciting that I hear that it's an audiobook as well. And we shared that link in there for you to look at it, clarifying your messaging. Okay, are we ready to dive into Facebook marketing?
Are we?
I don't know. I'm ready to learn about it if you're ready to teach me.
So it's not marketing on Facebook. I do not have I do okay with my like Facebook groups, but it's never been a great way to sell. So I'm in a Facebook ads class. I had previously 100% written off ads. I've done Google, I've done Pinterest, I had done Facebook. I had hired people to do Facebook. It just never really converted. But when COVID happened and I had such great sales, I was like, I think this might be the time to give a whirl with Facebook ads again. I am in the Brilliant Business Moms Facebook ads intensive right now with Beth Ann Schwamberger, I think is her last name. And it's going okay, but I kind of thought that I would just like run ads and it would just make me a lot of money while I sat by the pool, and it's not yet, but I hope to soon. I am seeing promise, but it is, I just think I probably gave up too early with all the other ones, because there's a lot of time where you're like switching audiences, and I know a lot about my audience. I've been a labor and delivery nurse for 20 years, so I really know where they are and what they're doing. But there are still times that I'm like, I have no idea where to find these people. So it's not going to happen easily, and I think you're going to have to take some time to find your audiences with Facebook marketing. But she has tons of people who are super successful with courses or even their own products and those types of things as well.
Will you repeat what you said just so we can make sure we get the link and drop it into the comments so people can grab it if they're interested in learning more about Facebook ads?
So it's Brilliant Business Moms Facebook ads intensive. It's a little bit pricey, but she does guarantee that you'll have success with your ads, by Beth Ann Schwamberger. If you just Google Brilliant Business Moms Facebook ads intensive, and she only runs it twice a year, so she'll run it again after the holidays.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we will share that link just to make sure, because I know that there are a lot of us who would like to learn more about Facebook ads. It's a unique proposition and a unique place. When people find success, I've heard people say they've had crazy success with it, but those are few and far between from my experience.
And now is a weird time to be doing it, because I think with all of the like election and masks and all those kind of things, Facebook maybe isn't the happy place we all want to hang out in. So, but you can also do Instagram at the same time you're doing Facebook. So there's that too.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Instagram it's still pretty, even with masks, it's pretty. Okay, talk about social media and marketing on social media with your courses. You talked a little bit about using your testimonial quotes and your things like that and converting those into different social media graphics. Talk more about how you use social media.
So I started doing TikTok this summer. I just am giving like quick labor tips. So, and on there, I went 100% niche. It's not pulling girls, it's the pregnancy nurse, which is something I've niched down to all of my social media. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the pregnancy nurse, just for pregnancy. And so I just do helpful like pregnancy tips. And I'm at I'm just over 18,000 followers. And I just posted one this morning. And when I looked like an hour later, there had been 12,000 people that had seen it. And I get way more click outs with TikTok than I do with Instagram or Facebook, like way more. And I'm shocked. But
do you have any idea how that's converting into your course sales?
Yeah, so I should say in my course, when you purchase, I have a Google form embedded in Teachable that asks you where you found me. So that's right after the terms and conditions of the course. Actually, it might even be before it, but you can embed it in your course so that people can very easily just click where they found you. And people are clicking TikTok. And every time I have one, I'm like, no way. Because I don't spend, I'm not putting on makeup. I throw on a scrub top. So I wear a scrub top in every single one. So they're all kind of me in my navy scrub top. But who knew, right?
I mean, you're on the wave of the future. You're cutting edge. The wave. I mean, I guess it all just depends. Our SVP of Sales and Revenue, Phil Bone, just said TikTok labor tips was not something I would guess is a thing. We're all learning today. Every day we're learning.
And if you feel like there's no way you could do TikTok, because that was me. Like my friend Katie Clark from Clark's Condensed was like, get on there, you'll do so great. And I was just like, I'm not going to dance. And officially, like, I don't think businesses are supposed to use them. I don't know how that whole thing works. But.
I mean, also there's they're suing our government. Like there's a lot of levels here. So I would say, like, if I don't know that I'd invest like a lot of your time or marketing into TikTok, but
you don't have to. Like literally, I'm like 20 minutes a week and making sales off of it. So I'm just saying, and I'm helping people, which is one of my ultimate goals. There are a lot of very young moms on TikTok who have literally no idea how this baby is going to come out of them. So that has made me feel good as well. I'm answering questions and doing good in the world just beyond, on TikTok. Who knew, right? My friend Katie knew.
So let's talk about imposter syndrome. Let's do that. Let's pivot there. How do you get over the thoughts and fears of thinking no one will buy your course? So why should you create one?
Yeah. And I think it's so happens. Like I have been a labor nurse for 20 years. Like there's no reason I should have imposter syndrome, but it's there every single time. So first off, I'm a big believer in positive intentions. And I actually got called out in my Facebook ads class because I kept being like, this is never going to work. This is the stupidest thing ever. And one of the people was like, you need to think it's going to work. And so every day I write in my planner, my Facebook ads do great. And I think saying things like that out loud really help, even though back in the SNL days, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, like it really works. So positive intentions, I'm a big fan. And also by the time you're done with the course, I think it's really easy to feel like an imposter when you start the course, but by the time you're done, you start to be like, no, this is really good. And I have to say, my first prenatal class was probably like B- work. But you can always update it. And the beauty is that anyone who ever bought my course can get this newly updated course. And so this course that I just came out with is a rock solid A+ work. Like I'm super proud of it, but it took a while to get there, I think, because I just needed to be comfortable enough in front of the camera and find the right video editing platform where I could find some stock footage to put in the course as well. And so also remembering that you can always redo it or add things. That's the beauty of courses, but you could always just pull something down and put something else back up. You're not like stuck like you would be with a book. So if you put out a C+ book, that's the book they're going to have forever.
And yeah, like you said, your first iteration doesn't have to be your last iteration.
It doesn't. And people love the old one. It's not like,
oh, really?
But I will say that people with the new one can probably sense that I'm much more comfortable with the camera, and it's really what I wanted it to be all along. I just couldn't find exact. So I used a platform called WeVideo that has a ton of stock footage with it, including like hospital footage. So I could show putting in an IV and those kind of things. Whereas like finding stock footage of that would have been really expensive, but because I could get like a membership where you just pay one lump sum at the beginning of the year, it made it a lot cheaper. So it just helped to kind of research, and I put it out there. I was like, I want to find some way to make the video better. My intention out there.
Yes, it's all about put it out there. Last thing before we have to say goodbye, tell us a little bit about how you stay engaged with those course takers after they are done with your course. Do you have another course to keep them in the funnel? How do you keep going with that?
So no, because once the baby comes out, I have a parenting course, but it probably wouldn't apply to somebody with a newborn. I definitely still have posts. So like in pregnancy, once they have the baby, they push a button on my newsletter and it sends them a postpartum series. And then, I do have a parenting thing. I have lots of different content on my blog. So there's that, but I don't know that people stay engaged with me after they take the course. With the home organization one, they definitely do. They stick in the group, and you're always organizing stuff. So that one's a little bit easier to like stick with me. And the same with the parenting one. You're always parenting even when your kids move out.
So how do you keep them engaged? Do you do email series? Is there a way to convert them to the blog? Like, so I would say this, are your blog readers then going to course and then are they staying with blog, or are you getting cold people in that you're then pushing to your blog to keep them with you as readers? How do you keep that in your little family?
I mean, I have a really long email series. It's probably 50 emails once a week. And I do push stuff out to those people, like when I have new posts. I also have a podcast, which we haven't even mentioned this whole time, my podcast, which I actually think the podcast helps market, because when you hear me just in your ears where it's just you and me talking about epidurals, I think you're like, we're friends. Me and Hilary are friends, and I think she could really help me have this. So I think actually that my podcast is probably the most intimate way to get to know people. And I don't just talk pregnancy on there. I can't talk about just one thing at any given time. So, even after they have a baby, they're still parenting an organization. Everyone still needs to organize, even the people that wrote an organization class. So I don't know where they're coming or if they're sticking with me. Honestly, I don't know how you would track that. Yeah.
Okay.
Answer, Hilary.
Hey, go to TikTok and do a dance. Well, this has been really very helpful, and I am so grateful. Guys, if you're out there, be thinking about what areas you are experts in, because again, as I said at the beginning, I guarantee you are an expert in multiple things. It's just you don't think about it because it's second nature to you. So please be thinking about what you could help people by sharing your knowledge. Next week is our finale for the Summer of Live, our third Summer of Live. It is Thursday, September 3rd. It is with Beth Santos, who is the founder and CEO of Wonderful. And we're going to be talking about From Me to We, which is transforming your blog into a bigger business than yourself, getting that scale mentality that is so important. Guys, we will see you next week. Hilary, thank you for being with us, and everybody else.
Yeah, I have a page on my site, pullingcurls.com/creating courses, that has links to the mic that I use and my survey and stuff like that. I don't know if they dropped it. Maybe they dropped the link.
We have, that link has been in there a couple of times. So it's already up there. Just scroll up. We'll share it again. We'll drop it in there one more time. And you guys, thank you again. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Have a pumpkin spice latte by the pool.